Everybody hear me? All right, appreciate you guys, everybody. Again, my name is Donavan Newman. I'm the wide receivers coach, recruiting coordinator at Millsaps College. And today we're going to be talking about blocking fundamentals and how we're going to translate that into wide receiver play. The big thing when teaching blocking fundamentals, all right, the way we do it at Millsaps College, all right, we want to do it in progressions. All right, we want to be able to have a stationary drill. Okay, we want to make sure that we're getting the basic techniques so that we can be able to emphasize and be able to carry that over into our next drill. All right, we're now into movement. All right, because we all know a defender is not going to stay still. All right, we got to be able to get into this next progression now, and that's reacting. All right, when we get into game-like scenarios, being able to read defenders, who's most dangerous, that scenario. So with that being said, we're going to get rocking and rolling with the drills. We're going to start off by working our first stationary drill. All right, we're going to get into the first progression. Okay, there's two phases of the drill that we're going to work in our stationary drill. Excuse me. All right, so right now we're working our punch step. The big emphasis on the punch step is one when we get in our stance. All right, we want to make sure that we roll into the punch. Excuse me. All right, we want to make sure we're in a good stance. Forward shin lean. All right, 60-40. All right. It's very urgent, and the big reason why we want to work this too, all right, is because we all know stance and start is one of the most important things playing this position, all right? So if you can be able to be in a good stance, blocking, all right, that's going to carry over when you're running routes, getting into the scheme of things, all right? So again, we're going to make sure our stance, we want to have a forward shin lean, 60% right on our front foot, 40 on the back. I'm going to emphasize we have our hands up, all right? You're never going to go into a fight with your hands down. All right, very important that we have our hands up in this way. All right, so again, make sure we have our hands up. All right, good lean. Okay, when I say go, you're going to get a good punch step. All right, again, hands up, 60-40. All right, we're going to make sure we roll into it when we take the step. We want our thumbs up on the punch. We want our elbows tight. All right, tight hand placement. So when we be able to engage the drive, all right, we got control and leverage. All right, so that being said, we're going to walk through it. So go. All right, now stop, all right? Come back one more time, all right? We're going to run the drill one more time. I want you guys to pause on the punch, all right? Get set, get set, get set. Again, good stance. Get a little lower in my stance, all right? A little lower, eyes up. So go. Now stop, all right? Big emphasis. Again, we want to make sure that we have tight hand placement, all right? We don't want to be able to punch here because if we punch here, the defender's going to be able to break away from it and do a whole bunch that, again, we have no control of doing, all right? We want to make sure we're keeping our elbows tight. All right, I shouldn't have my elbows wide here. All right, we want to make sure we have good tight hand placement on the punch, roll into the hip, take our step, and be able to drive and engage. All right, let's do this one more time. I'm going to go through it pretty fast here. So go. Good. All right, now, again, make sure tight hand placement. All right, elbows tight. All right, and we want to be aggressive on this punch. Okay, you can't come timid, all right, coming into this phase of the position. All right, if you can understand that you take this more seriously, applying this into your game, the whole position is going to be the most explosive unit. All right, one more time. Let's go. Better. All right, let's switch. All right, switch it. You can do this. Get after it, baby. Come on. All right. Good stance. Forward shin lean, 60-40. Let's go. All right. Listen, again, we're just working the punch step, all right? We're not into the drive phase yet. We're just working the punch. Again, we want to work on rolling our hips, keeping our elbows tight, having our thumbs up, all right, striking the gauge. More importantly, you have your eyes down, all right? You want to keep our eyes up at the defender. You with me? All right, let's do it again. Let's go. Good. Better here. Whole lot better. Again, we're taking one big step, all right? We're just working the punch step. We're rolling our hip, working our tight hand placement, elbows tight. Boom. All right, one more time. Get lower in my stance. Hands up a little bit more. There we go. Let's go. Good. All right, come on. Work with me now. Again, we're just taking one big step. So watch my man right here, right? Getting a good stance, 60-40, hands up. Let's go. All right, now, what we can do a whole lot better here. Again, roll your hips into it. All right, because if you can't, again, this position is played, everything is starting from the ground up. All right, and if you're too high popping off the ball, being able to punch your defender, all right, you're not going to be explosive. They're going to bull rush through that, all right? So one more time through. Let's do it, all right? Again, roll your hips, tight elbows, tight hand placement, hands up. Get an explosive stand like we're getting ready to pop off the ball. Let's go. All right, roll your hips. One more time. Y'all can do it. Let's go, baby. Come on. Let's go. Roll your hips into it, all right? And we just want to take one step. You don't got to necessarily do two just yet. Again, we're rolling into it. Boom. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. One more time. Let's get it. Let's go. Better. Whole lot better here. All right. Again, the big emphasis on the punch step. We want to be able to make sure, again, that we're rolling our hips into it. All right. We want to make sure that we have good, tight hand placement. All right. Keeping our elbows tight. Being able to control and have leverage on the defender that we're going against. All right. So that being said, we're going to get into the next phase of this progression. All right. So let me get three of you guys here. Okay. Give me, you can come right here. One person holding the bag. As a matter of fact, you come hold the bag. Yep. Go ahead. Yep, go ahead, throw it. Cool. Back up here. All right. Now, next progression into this phase. All right, we're working our stock drill. All right, again, we want to work on going from speed to power. All right, being able to apply what we just did with our punch step. All right, and be able to drive and engage. All right, so we're going to start off. All right, everything that we do, we want to do in the chute. All right, very important that we have low pad level. All right, when we're working our blocking drills. All right, because again, it carries over when we're running our routes. So again, make sure. All right, get underneath the stance, underneath the chute, 60-40. All right, we don't want to put ourselves in a position where you have to sink back down. Again, go ahead, get in your stance, be explosive, be ready to pop off. You're going to look, all right? Again, we're going to walk through the drill first. So big emphasis on the stock drill. I'm going to say go, start off in your stance, say go, walk through. You're going to get about 1 to 2 yards, break down, strike and engage, boom. Roll your hips into it. Again, emphasizing the tight hand placement and keeping our elbows tight on the strike, all right? Let's get going, all right? So we're going to do the drill first. Once you do the drill, you're going to transition. You have the bag. Next person goes, all right? So go. Break down 1 to 2 yards, strike and engage. Good. Now, again, we don't want to be too far out, right? We want to make sure we're putting ourselves in good position to get about 1 to 2 yards. Again, we're going from speed to power. So when we get in our power stance, right, we want to make sure, again, we have a good base. Feet to shoulder width, right underneath our armpits. Again, emphasizing what we just worked on the punch step. All right, making sure we're having good tight hand placement. All right, keeping our elbows tight. Roll your hips, and now we're driving and engaging. All right, next person, let's go. Again, good stance. 60-40 on the forward shin lean. Eyes up. Make sure we got our eyes on the defender. Let's go. Break down 1 to 2 yards. Strike and engage. Stop. All right. So getting not bad. But now what we want to do, again, we want to make sure we have a thumbs up. All right, if we're having too wide here, you have no control. You know what I'm saying? You want to be able to make sure we have something that we can tug and grab. All right, so make sure, again, keep the thumbs up. Tight hand placement. Elbows up. Now remember, again, we're working with the chute here. All right, we shouldn't have guys dipping. All right, we want to eliminate any little false step. So again, it's very important that we're starting off. All right, we're in our stance. All right, we're popping off the ball, watching the command. All right, not creating any extra false movement. All right, hands up, go. Right down 1 to 2 yards, strike and engage. It's not bad here. All right, again, next person, we're gonna go through it again. Want to emphasize going from speed to power, having some control. All right, again, make sure we have leverage. All right, one more time through. Hands up, let's go. Break down 1 to 2 yards, strike and engage, all right? Again, we want to be aggressive on the punch. Let's not get away from this, all right? Set the tone in this work now.